Okay, Leah. So the first question I have for you is what was the point in your journey that made you say, you know what? I want to reach out and I want to get professional support?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what made me decide to, well, one, I found out that I had free sessions with my insurance, so that was a
Woo!
motivator.
Amazing.
Um, but I felt like I had been listening to the podcast. I had been, watching your TikToks and felt super inspired by it. But I felt like I wasn't making a ton of progress on the ground floor. And there was a lot of just stuff coming up that I didn't know how to handle. And to be completely transparent, as like a plus size girl, I had a lot of like just is this for me?
hmm
Is this going to work for me? Can I do intuitive eating? Are you sure I don't need to be losing weight? And so that's when I decided, you know what? Like I have this opportunity to get these sessions. Let me get that personalized help.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And it makes me so happy to hear that you had insurance coverage because most people have like, did you have any idea that you had coverage before you heard us talking about it? Because I find that most people have no idea that they have these benefits until we run their benefit check.
No, I had no idea. And what's funny is I worked on the benefits team of my last company,
Oh my
and it
gosh.
still wasn't like something that we had promoted within our company. So I would encourage anyone just reach out, get it checked. And actually, so even though Find Food Freedom doesn't promote BMI or anything, because I'm technically over the BMI, I ended up having basically an unlimited amount of free sessions.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm.
Because we always say, like, when it comes to insurance, like, as you said, Find Food Freedom, we don't take your weight. We're weight inclusive. Like, we don't look at BMI. We think it's bullshit. But if the insurance company is going to say, hey, if you use this code, we're going to give this client unlimited sessions, then we're going to say, fuck yeah, we're going to take those sessions and we're going to let them have unlimited care. Um,
I told Maya, I
so
was like, put me at the highest weight. Yeah.
Well, and that's what clients will be like, do I have to weigh myself to see this? I'm like, you don't have to do shit. Like, give us an estimated, like heavy air quotes weight, whatever we need to do, we're gonna do it. So I love that you brought that up. And it's funny, before we hopped on, I always love doing these client testimonials because I'm like, okay, what before I meet you, like what can I find out about Leah's journey with Maya, one of the Find Food Freedom providers? So you had your initial consultation on March 11th, 2024. So over a year ago now, because for right now it is April 16th, 2025. You've had about 22 appointments with Maya, which is incredible.
Mhm.
So cool to hear. So I would love to hear from you. What did you like expect or think the support was going to be like? And then what was it actually like? And this might be a hard question to answer because you've been working with her so long, but like what were your expectations and then what was the reality of the care that you got?
Yeah, well, I would one like to point out I never thought I would be doing these sessions for that long, but I guess it just shows like how impactful they've been for me. But really I thought that it was going to be very nutrition based. Like I thought, okay, like I just really want that support of like how to build out healthy meals. And Maya and I definitely talked about that, definitely chatted about my concerns of like, okay, as I'm transitioning from just I had like not diagnosed, but a lot of issues with binge eating.
Mhm.
And so I thought we were going to be discussing more like, okay, like the nutritional part of this, and like as I'm transitioning, how can I make sure that I'm balancing meals while also like not triggering myself? But what ended up happening was it opened up a whole host of just thoughts that were coming up about my body and society and clothes and how that all impacts your ability to, listen to your body and get in tuned with yourself. And I never would have realized the spiritual journey that I was gonna go on. And I think that it turned into like a whole like confidence booster. I love myself so much more now, and I don't even think about my body really. And all of the things that I thought needed to be cured with like exercise and nutrition, it really was my own mentality towards food that needed to be healed.
Whew. I have
Yeah.
chills, Leah. And I'm like kind of tearing up, like just hearing you say, like, I love myself so much more. And like your experience and hearing you talk about the work that you did with Maya and the Find Food Freedom team is so incredible. And I hear that so often as people are like, I think it's going to be like, tell me what to eat, tell me what not to eat, like, tell me how to set boundaries around my food. And then I find that when people come on this intuitive eating journey with us, they're like, it's not about the food or my, like, it's not about the food. It's not about the exercise, like you said. It's about building that self-compassion and that relationship that I have with myself. And something that you said, you're like, I barely like think about my body now. So on an app, if you had to put a number to it, like how many minutes a day do you think you're thinking about food or your body now?
I think that I would say, I mean, I still do think about it and
Hmm.
thoughts do still come up. And I do, I obviously think about what I want to eat, what's going to be fulfilling for me. I think, and I still do think about my body as I like um, change clothes or I'm getting dressed. But I guess it's more what I'm thinking that is so different. Like
Yes.
now I'm not looking at myself going, ugh, like I hate this, or I'm not putting on a new larger size of pants thinking, oh gosh, like we gotta fix this. And I'm no longer going into every meal thinking like this is gonna make or break me being healthy. So I guess it's, and also, you know, I can't speak for everyone's experience, but I know at least for me, like before this journey, there was no limit to the amount that I could have been thinking of my body, and there was no experience small enough for me not to tie my body to it.
Thank you for saying that. And I definitely didn't ask that question probably the right way, but you,
Oh.
without even knowing, you said exactly what I was trying to prompt you to of like, on your initial paperwork, I had mentioned to you before we clicked record that I was going to maybe ask you questions and like compare your answers. And we asked you before, how many minutes or hours do you spend a day thinking about food or your body? And you wrote, extremely often. I would say I'm very rarely unaware of my body and find it easy to let my mind bring my body into every single part of my life. So to
Mhm.
hear that a year ago, right? And now the examples you gave, I want to validate for you, Leah, are totally normal, right? You're like, well, I think about what will satisfy me, or I think about food when I'm hungry, right? That's our body's cues. I think about clothes when I'm putting them on. Of course, like what's going to be comfortable, what's going to fit my body, like all of these things, but it's not that consistent obsessive noise and negative self-talk in your head like you just said, like there was no limit. So like hearing me read that answer to your question that you wrote a year ago, did you think you would be sitting here now saying like, I rarely think about my body, and if I do, it's not this negative chatter, and if it is a negative thought, I can let it go and I can move past it? Like, did you think this was going to be a reality for you?
No, not at all. Well, I think I thought I just wanted to constantly think positive about myself because
Mm,
I was so negative. And I guess for anyone listening, like something that I didn't expect is there is a large amount of grief in this process and letting go of like, because also the perfectionist towards my body also went towards my food as well, where I thought again, like, oh, I'm gonna find intuitive eating, just be like so happy with food and like so excited for food. And now it's like, yeah, like I'm excited for like a good meal, but it's not this like center of my world excitement. It's not like filling a void excitement.
Yes,
So it
totally.
feels really good, but I will say it's a different way than I expected it to feel.
Yes, that is such a great way to describe it. Because I feel like when we're in the pits of diet culture, we're like, we want the rainbows and the butterflies and the positivity and all these things, and then we're like, we get through it, and it's like, oh, it's just food. And some people that we work with, and I don't know if you had this experience, I would like to hear. And I know I had this experience when I started to make peace with food. Food got kind of boring because I was like, oh. It's just food. Like I'm allowed to have it now. And I had to actually work on like how to bring fun back into my food because it was almost like not the opposite where I didn't want to eat, but it was just it wasn't that lust that I couldn't have it anymore. So then it
Mhm.
kind of became boring for me. Did you have that experience or anything similar to that?
Yeah, I would say so, especially when I gave up trying to like dictate every single meal and if it was like fulfilling all of my needs, it's like the fiber, protein, carb, fat. Like I personally had to go through like we're just letting go and we're just eating and we're just like listening to our body. And after so long of doing that, like you just get into a rhythm that feels comfortable. And oh, I just kind of lost myself. But I basically what I'm trying to say is like you stop getting the high of like having this goal for food. And then when you're just enjoying it day to day, it's just not like anything you think about. It's like you don't constantly think like, I'm enjoying my pet today. I'm enjoying it. You're just like, yeah, I love my pet. It's a day with my pet.
Yes. Oh, I love that analogy. I love a good analogy. So
Yeah.
that was awesome. Totally. And I think a lot of times I find when people come to intuitive eating, they are coming from diet culture or dieting where there's a lot of restriction. So we're constantly hungry if we're restricting, right? So then when we're hungry, we're just constantly thinking about food. When is my next meal? What can I have? Did like all of that. But once we're fueled properly and we're allowed and like we nourish our body, we find even just once we're properly nourished, those thoughts about food start to dissipate a little bit because we're fed. And our body's like, oh, I feel good. Um,
Um,
so I would love to hear from you, Leah. Just it could be about food, it could be about body image, it could be about movement, just truly the first thing that comes up for you. What were some of your biggest aha moments? And they might feel really simple, but they were just so big and memorable, like working with Maya that you came to session and you were like, oh my gosh, like whatever this is, like whatever comes up for you. What was some aha moments that you had throughout your work together?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind is Maya, and she is so great. Like she has like a special, it like makes me emotional thinking about her. Like she has like a special place in my heart because she really helped me debunk my own fat phobia and kind of realizing like, if I'm getting movement in, I'm getting nutrition, I'm doing what feels good for my body. Like, what is there to worry about with your weight? If you feel good every day, you have good energy levels, your blood work is looking good, or even if it's not, like, are we working with a healthcare provider? Like, all of those, there's so many other things besides your weight that we can be focusing on. And as much as I had heard that, I never truly felt it. And I think that another thing that sticks out to me is I, for a long time, I kept having to ask her, like, it's okay if I eat healthy, right? It's okay if I like don't, let's say I'm having like urges to overeat, but I really don't want to because I don't, I do dancing and it does not feel good to overeat and then go dance. And I had to like clarify, like, you can do that, right? And like, you can choose to eat healthy, just because you want to feel good, right? And she's like, absolutely, yes. It's not about not doing things that feel good for you. It's about letting go of the shame and that there's a right and wrong way to live your life, really.
I love those both points you brought up were incredible. And I could not agree more with you. Maya is such a special provider and she just holds space in such a beautiful way. She's such a great listener and such a great provider. So, so happy to hear you had that experience. And what you're describing too, I've seen with a lot of clients is they get to this point on their journey where they're like, even if it's like craving a salad, right? Or like crunchy, some like lettuce, they're like, am I dieting again? And it's like, no, 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 no. You are allowed to want something that is nutrient dense, right? You are allowed to want to feel physically pleasant, like what you were describing, like physically pleasant when you show up to dance class. So your stomach doesn't hurt, so you can perform and have fun and, be present. Um, and I find that's like a really normal thing to experience as you become more of an advanced intuitive eater because you're thinking like, oh, well, I would. It's almost like maybe you ate, as my salad example, if we ate salads all the time in diet culture, it makes sense to be like, am I dieting again if I eat a salad? But I think it always comes back to like, what is the intention behind our behavior, right? Whereas before, with your example, like you may have restricted or deprived yourself before a dance class for different intentions versus now it's like I'm going to fuel myself and try to ensure I don't feel overly full so I can perform my best, I can show up, I can be energized. Like those are such different intentions, probably, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Before it was like, don't eat too much, as opposed to like now it's, I just want to really feel good and I want to be able to do my best. And that actually does mean making sure that I'm properly fueled as opposed to, trying to be as skinny as possible.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So I would love to hear from you. Was there anything that surprised you on your intuitive eating journey? Or maybe you felt like, because I think on your paperwork you had said like you had been exposed to intuitive eating, right? You and I had talked how you've seen our content at Find Food Freedom, kind of been back and forth with intuitive eating. So was there anything throughout your work with Maya, and maybe it was one of those aha moments, but that it just really surprised you and you thought like, I thought this about intuitive eating before working with you, but I had no idea XYZ.
Um, the thing that's coming to mind is it really surprised me how simple nutrition really is, but we have made it so unbelievably complicated
Such a
because
clusterfuck.
Yes, like it's actually, and I'm still learning and growing. Like that doesn't mean that, oh, I just got it all now. But I noticed that, once you get into a rhythm and also like there's tools and resources that Maya provided to me. Um, but outside of that, it's pretty simple. Movement, carb, fat, protein. Like it's not no offense, but it's not rocket science.
No offense taken. I love that you said this because I think, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this of like before, maybe when you were entrenched in diet culture versus now, like the type of social media accounts you engaged in. Because that's what I thought as soon as you said that. Like we see these people going into Costco and making videos being like, this is bad and this is bad and this is bad. And like, there's so much misinformation and bullshit out there about nutrition that everyone is so complicated or they're making it complicated and everyone is so confused. Excuse me, let me say that correctly. So, do you feel like now being in the intuitive eating side of things, like what does your social media feed look like or what are the types of things that you engage with or don't engage with and do you think that's been a part of it as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I follow a lot of plus size content. I love a lot of intuitive eating accounts. Like, I do not follow anyone or intentionally follow anyone that subscribes to at least like heavy diet culture. I mean, to be fair, like we all have people within our orbit that,
100%.
haven't experienced intuitive eating, and that's fine. But I think that my own feed is very curated to building like a positive image towards myself. And just like, I think it's also, the truth is our world doesn't always reflect this community, but I think that having somewhere online that you can go to just makes you feel like, oh, okay, there are people in the world that like see food the way that I do, and like it creates this belief that like this is possible for me, and like I can let go and be healthy and build the life that I really wanted all along.
Mm, that's so beautiful. And it's so
Hmm.
true what you said of like every single one of us has someone close to us that is deeply entrenched in diet culture. Like that would be very rare probably to not have that. And we
Hmm.
turn on the TV, we turn on the radio, we turn on anything, open our phones, like diet culture is all around us. So having that support can be so, so beneficial. So I have your paperwork pulled up here, and I was going to read, if it's okay with you, I'm going to read how you described your relationship with your body about a year ago. And then I want you to just respond with what comes up for you. And do you feel like this is true today?
Okay.
Okay. So we asked, how would you describe your relationship with your body? And you had checked off unpleasant. And we just said, why? And you wrote, I'm finding it more difficult than I thought to change my body image, specifically in regards to fat phobia and feeling like I don't have the same experiences or opportunities as my friends that reside in smaller bodies. I may not necessarily be mistreated, but I constantly see how I'm not in the same positive light. So does that feel true for you and just what's coming up for you now, today?
Ugh, that like makes me so sad because I think that, I think now I probably am having the same experience, but I don't notice it and I'm not focused on it. And what's funny, and you know, I don't want to sugarcoat fat phobia and say that, if you're just confident, your life's going to change. But
100%.
I have noticed that the less I walk around with the lens that people hate me, men are never going to love me, and I'm never going to have XYZ because of my body, the less I see it. So while there
Mhm.
are just some facts about like, there's weight limits to a roller coaster or
Yes.
whatever, like there is, and also with clothing, like it just is what it is. It's harder. But I think then you have your own limiting beliefs about like, feeling good in your body and finding clothes that fit you and finding people who are going to love you for you. And I don't have those thoughts anymore. So even though the world may not have necessarily changed, like my world has changed and I don't feel it or experience it as much.
That was so beautifully said, Leah. Thank you for sharing that. And what I'm hearing you describe, something we often will refer to in session with our clients is an image that Vinny Wellsby. I don't know if you follow Vinny, but they are an incredible, I'll share their account after with you.
Hmm.
But they are an amazing consultant and in this space. And they talk about the four layers to fat phobia. And some of what you described, like you said, like the roller coasters, clothing sizes, like chairs in medical offices, right? Like, unfortunately, it's fucked up that those things exist. And we don't individually have the power to change all of that, right? So, what you were describing is like, I worked on my own internalized fat phobia, like my beliefs about myself, my beliefs about my body. And that can have profound impacts on our mental health and, of course, our relationship with our body. And um, although all four layers of fat phobia need to be addressed in the world, and it's going to take people and humans and numbers to get to some of those things that need to be changed in society, I think it's incredible to hear the shifts that you've had in your internalized fat phobia and how that has impacted your daily life and your happiness. Um,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Incredible. Um, so as we wrap here, I would love to hear, this is a very broad question and it might be related to food and body, it might not for you, but how has your life changed with working with Maya on the Find Food Freedom team?
Well, I would say that like I said, you kind of go in thinking it's going to be about food and nutrition, but it ends up being this whole bigger experience and journey that you're on. And I think that for me, like it's yes, like my body image has changed, but I never realized how much that would affect like my relationships and being so much more comfortable with just being myself and not feeling like I have to be this like perfect being for everyone. And I think that when you also address like when you let go of diet culture, it actually gets harder because now you have to really deal with the feelings that you're feeling when it comes to overeating or binge eating. And so I think that that's been super great for me. And then, yeah, like I said, I just don't walk around the world with as big of a chip on my shoulder. And I think that that's been so freeing. I guess I went into this wanting to be like happy, but I came out so free.
Mm, that was so beautiful. You're making me want to like clip that quote. Like that is such a beautiful quote. I went into this wanting to be happy, but I came out so free. That's so cool.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if you had a friend come to you and say, Leah, should I work with the Find Food Freedom team? What would you say to them and why?
Well, I already recommend Find Food
You're like,
Freedom
yup.
to everyone. I'm giving out the books, I'm passing it out. I would say that, like I said, look into your insurance, see if it's available to you. If not, you can always schedule. I think you can schedule an intro call just to like see what it's about. But just give it a try, even if it's just one or two sessions, you would be amazed at what you can get out of it. And I think also like there is no question too critical or too um, dumb or too diet culture to ask. Like it's really helpful to have somebody be like, but wait, what about this? But remember that one person I listened to, and what do you have to say about this? Like, and you're working with actual registered professionals. So I would say just whatever you can do, I would say try it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leah, for sharing your story with us. It was so cool for me to hear, and it's incredible. So thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.